One of the greatest Wing Chun fighters in history, Bruce Lee, said, "Simplicity is the key to brilliance." And I happen to agree. You know, a perfect example of this was Bruce Lee's 1-inch punch. He showed that you didn't have to make your body do all kinds of elaborate, complicated movements. He could throw a punch more powerful than almost anyone from 0 to 1 inch away. And the same thing applies to blues guitar. You know, a lot of musicians way overcomplicate things, and they try and cram their heads with a bunch of theory and scales, when really often the most brilliant musicians took very simple ideas but played them with more emotion and feeling than almost anyone. So I want to share with you an example of this as we take a look at Jimi Hendrix's version of Catfish Blues. Now, this is from one of my favorite blues records. It's just Jimi Hendrix Blues. Check it out if you haven't checked it out. But, you know, Hendrix was known, of course, for Purple Haze and Foxy Lady and All Along the Watchtower and these big famous songs. But at the core of what he did, he could really play the blues. And this song is really all based on just one riff. It's actually based on one chord. It's all based on an E7. Check it out. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I'm playing my Strat here and I'm tuned down a half step. Jimi Hendrix did this a lot. So instead of E, A, D, G, B, E, he was tuned E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B flat, E flat. So it's technically an E flat 7 concert pitch, but in terms of guitar, I just think E7. Now, the main riff that he played based off that E chord went like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just a simple idea, and the basic figure is 1 bar long. Now it starts on the and of 4. It plays this 3rd fret here with a little pull on the low E string, and then you do a hammer from the open 4th string to the 2nd fret. And that's the note E. So it's this little bluesy bend into that E root note. Then you skip up to the 1st string, play that open, and then this little move here on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. You bend it up, bring it down, pull off to open, and then land there on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, back on that note E. So far. Then you drop down the octave, play the low E string, and then I do a little mute like this. And Hendrix would do that a lot. You know, he just kind of would just mute the strings and keep a rhythm sometimes, you know. And so you just do that, and then you start again. So remember that this starts on the and of 4. We have that pickup, so it's. So that's the basic idea, and if you want to be able to listen to your favorite songs and then instantly play what you hear, then you have to do something called ear training. This is where you train your ear to be able to pick out the notes and chords in what you're hearing. And if you've struggled with this or you want to learn how, then go to johnmcclennan.com/golden-ear and grab my free ear training cheat sheet. And I'm going to show you some of the ideas that I've used to figure out over 2,000 song lessons and put them up on the internet and just really play and figure out any recording that I want. And this helps, especially when you've got tricky things like a Hendrix song and the guitar's tuned down a half step and all these things that you have to hear. So it's completely for free. Just go to johnmcclennan.com/golden-ear and grab that now as my gift to you. So that's the first riff. One more time. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's the first example, and Hendrix would riff on this riff. He's basically playing a lot of different variations and improvising within the basic simple idea, which is again all one chord. I mean, can you get much more simpler than one chord? This song is like 7-8 minutes long and they never change the chord. All right, so that presents some challenges in that you have to make something of it, but it also lets you kind of just relax and be like, okay, I don't have to worry, it's just one chord. So here's another example. It sounds like this. 3, 4. Okay, so it's starting the same way with that 3rd fret of the low E, then a hammer, open to 2nd fret. Then you do a muted strum on beat 2. So it's 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Then on the and a 2, you get all the way up to the 12th position. And you play this screaming blues lick up here. This is the 15th fret on the 2nd string, bending up a whole step, and then playing the 12th fret on the 1st string. And they are bending together, and you call this a unison bend because you're trying to get this note to match this note. And it's never gonna match perfectly because it's just a guitar and it's never perfectly in tune, but it gets a really cool sound, and that rub of those notes just really is awesome. So you play that on the and a 2, so, or on the and a 2, 1 and 2 and 3, and then you hold it, and then 4, on beat 4 you pluck it again. So if I back up and just put together so far up to beat 4, it's gonna sound like this. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, and then you jump back down and you pick it back up right where you started. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and okay, so it's just a really cool riff, and again, he's jumping 12 frets. It's a pretty far skip up the neck there. Okay, so now I want to show you just a few variations to spice up what you've got so far. If we go back to the first example, okay, you can play some of the strings, and sometimes he would do this, is just like pop it with his middle finger of the picking hand. So, see that? Instead of this. It's cool, it's just a little extra sting on the note. Okay, you can also make those, instead of just one string, they could be like multiple strings, almost like a Stevie Ray Vaughan groove there, right? Like that, okay? Here's one more example. This is example number 3 here. And again, we're all just still basing it off that E7 chord. Sounds like this. 3 and 4. Ah, I love this. So this gets into that flat 7, the note D, a minor 7th above the low E. Well, this E here, it's the minor 7th in the key. And these are just classic blues fundamentals, things I teach in my programs and in my daily tips on my website through emails. So here you're going like this. You're playing the low E this time. So instead of going and going up to that high one, you go and you drop down to the low E. So it's the same kind of simple idea, right? But just, you know, coming up with different variations. Okay, and really all I did is change this note. Instead of, now I'm going, I just changed that one note. You see that there? So that's low E, and then 3rd fret on the 2nd string, then the rest is the same as what we covered in example 1. Bending up this 2nd fret, open, 2nd fret of the 4th string, now low E, then muted scratch, restart. Right? Now another thing that he'd do is, right, he'd do a little trill a lot of times on that note. And that's just a quick hammer pull off between open and the 2nd fret on the 4th string. So you can see how you can start mixing these riffs together, create a groove, but all based on that simple idea of one chord. This is an example of something called a one-chord blues. So I hope this video helps you out and inspires you to play some of these awesome Hendrix riffs. And if you want to be able to figure out these riffs yourself and be able to improvise more freely, then go to johnmcclennan.com/goldenear and grab my free ear training PDF. This is going to show you some of the techniques and ideas that I use to pull sounds, notes, chords off of recordings and be able to play them right away on my guitar. And it's completely for free. Just go to johnmcclennan.com/goldenear and grab that as my gift to you. As always, hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like this one, I think you'll really like this one next.